It's finally time for the final part of the Super Forms videos. This is the end of the Super Form trilogy, I guess we'll call it. We did one on Sonic, we did one on his friends. Now it's time to do one on pretty much everyone else, because yes, there is quite a bunch. This is going to be going over games, comics, a whole bunch of stuff. So, here we go. So these are the forms given to other characters that were not mentioned in the previous videos. In the previous one we did about Sonic's friends, we went with the main core Sonic friends. That was Tails, Amy, Knuckles, and then we added Shadow in there. So this is now going to be everyone else. So the other friends Sonic has, and some of the villains who have actually had super forms as well. So without further ado, let's get into it. So the first one we got here is, of course, Super Silver. This is Silver's super form, which he gets by getting the power of the 7 Chaos Emeralds. Silver himself never actually captured all 7 Chaos Emeralds. He was kind of, the power was kind of like given to him by Sonic, but it's the same deal, you know, 7 Chaos Emeralds. So Silver's fur becomes a golden white. As Super Silver, Silver's innate talents are greatly increased, including his psychokinesis. He gains the ability to flight without the usage of his psychokinesis, and he gets virtual invulnerability. So Silver pretty much gets the average super form buffs, but with the added benefit of his psychokinesis getting increased, which makes sense, and that's nice and fun. And really the only time we've kind of seen Super Silver is 06. Bar not counting, like, you know, like Dash and mobile games and all that, where the, you know, like the character of Super Silver's there. But I mean, like, in a story, it's only been 06. And it's probably because Silver really hasn't done anything since 06. I mean, there was Rivals 2, but it's Rivals 2. So then we have Dragon Trip. Yes, Trip's super form is that she turns into a large dragon. So again, Trip gets this form by getting the power of the 7 Chaos Emeralds, and she turns into a large golden scale dragon. Imagine, that's a really, it's a neat thing. I mean, it makes sense because Trip herself is a dragon, so it makes sense that when she gets all 7 of them, she becomes just a bigger dragon. Okay, that's fine with me, but I like it that it's also like, the form doesn't just, you know, give them like the usual gold and stuff for Trip. It changes her, right? Like physically more than that. Like she literally changes. I like that. So we have Super Mighty. Mighty can obtain this form with the power of the 7 Chaos Emeralds. While transformed, Mighty's red shell gains a pulsating pink glow. As Super Mighty, Mighty commands all abilities like increased speed, flight, vulnerability. So Mighty just gets, you know, a boost like that. Then we have Super Ray. Ray's yellow fur gains a more pulsating glow. As Super Ray has all the super form stuff, right? So not much really changes with Mighty and Ray since Mighty's already strong, so just his strength increases, and Ray can already fly, so he just flies. So yeah, basic super form stuff there for those two. And I believe that ends the forms of all of Sonic's friends, because, oh well, that's not true. How could I forget? Burning Blaze, of course. She's further down here, sorry. Blaze can attain this form with the power of the 7 Soul Emeralds, which are her version of the Chaos Emeralds. In this state, Blaze commands abilities like increased strength, flight, invulnerability, and her pyrokinesis is increased. So, it's like Silver in a way. Silver becomes super, he gets enhanced psychokinesis, Blaze gets enhanced pyrokinesis, which is fun, that makes sense. I mean, her name is freaking Burning Blaze, which is fun. I would like to see, and this is something I pondered in the Sonic video, what if Blaze went super with the Chaos Emeralds? Would she be different than Burning Blaze? I pondered, come on, right? Like we have Blaze goes super with the Blaze goes super with the Chaos Emeralds, and Sonic goes super with the Soul Emeralds. Would they be different? Just ponder it. Just ponder. So now, with Blaze done, that is all of the forms of Sonic's friends. And now we get into the form of actually the villains and all of their super forms. So we have Super Mecha Sonic, which is the form that Mecha Sonic got when he tapped into the power of the Master Emerald from Sonic 3 and Knuckles. While transformed, Mecha Sonic goes into a golden orange and is capable of flight and firing energy weapons. Now, we really only see this when he fights Knuckles in Knuckles' story. But it was like a cool moment to see that, because you're like, what? The robots? They can go super too? And not just Sonic? Or Tails or Knuckles? The bad guys can go super too? So that was fun. Of course, we don't see Mecha Sonic Mark II again until Scrapnik Island. Then we have Super Neo Metal. Now, I was gonna put Neo Metal himself, but Neo Metal's not really that. It's more like just an upgrade, and then Super Neo Metal is an actual transformation. So Super Neo Metal is when Neo Metal Sonic went super by tapping into the power of the Master Emerald. While transformed, Neo Metal turns from blue to golden orange and is capable of flight and firing golden energy bolts. This is from the IDW comics, specifically the Angel Island arc. This was super cool to see. The art of Super Neo Metal is awesome, and seeing it was just like, it's awesome, dude. I love Super Neo Metal Sonic. It was great. It was great. And then you have like Knuckles, Sonic, and Shadow have to work together to fight him. It was great. That was a great first arc for the IDW comics. Really set the tone. And we're probably never going to see Super Neo Metal again. It was probably there just for the one thing, but it was cool nonetheless. Now we have Super Eggman. Yes, Eggman himself has a super form. Super Eggman is a form that was made by the last remaining Phantom Ruby prototype to replicate a super form. While in this form, Eggman is capable of flight and burst powers comparable to those of the other super forms. He's able to create and control other worlds at will, such as turning destroyed skyscrapers in Station Square into multiple copies of Perfect Chaos. Now, this was shown in Otherworld Comedy, also known as Isekai Oguri, which was a monthly series of what-if stories involving an established character from the Sonic series, alongside another one chosen by the community, and these were all released in 2023. These were written by Itaro Toyoda, and they were released exclusively in Japan. And these, unlike other Sonic Channel stories, are not canon. Most of Sonic Channel stuff is canon, like including the art and their stories. They're canon. These were specifically mentioned to be not canon stories. They're just kind of for fun. So Super Eggman is not canon. He's just a fun thing. He's not even an actual super form. He's just Eggman using a Phantom Ruby to replicate a super form. But it is still fun to note and to look at and be like, this could possibly be what a Super Eggman could look like. There was also a little joke at Super Eggman during a Twitter takeover, which I believe this was the one for Sonic Frontiers they did. Was it the one for Frontiers? It was the one for Frontiers or the one for Superstars? They did a Twitter takeover, and Eggman went super, and he just started throwing a bunch of eggs at people. Which that one is also a joke, right? But, you know, maybe one day we will get a Super Eggman. Eggman will get a super form one day. One day, maybe. So now let's move on to Perfect Chaos. This is the form for Chaos, the God of Destruction. Now, Chaos had changed this form when he used the negative energy of the Chaos Emeralds. Instead of turning gold like the traditional super state, Chaos transformed into a more monstrous appearance with reptilian eyes, a wide mouth, and tentacles. In this form, Chaos's hydrokinesis abilities are enhanced to the point where he can control floods. He can also project destructive energy. So this is Perfect Chaos. Perfect Chaos is, of course, a super form when you think about it. I mean, Chaos gets stronger and stronger with every Chaos Emerald he takes in Sonic Adventure, and he only becomes Perfect Chaos when he has all 7, so it is a super form. Perfect Chaos. I like the idea, by the way, and this is something they don't touch upon, that he used the negative energy of the Chaos Emeralds, and Sonic went super in the game because he used the positive energy of the Chaos Emeralds. That's something I think we need to touch upon more, is that there's a positive and negative energy to Chaos Emeralds. I think we need to talk about that a bit more. Before I leave Chaos, we're going to talk about Chaos instead, which is the next one. Now, Chaos is from the Archie comics. Chaos is a fusion of the spirit of Tikal bound to the water elemental Chaos. Though physically composed of Chaos's water-like body when normal, she retains the shape of Tikal as well as some semblance of her personality. to Chaos has a hunger for Chaos energy, possibly to sustain her form, but when overloaded with it, she will lose control and transform into the savage water god Perfect to Chaos. To Chaos was first seen taking on this form when King Shadow, yes, Shadow was a king, long story, forcibly fed her with too much Chaos energy, causing her to lose control and turn into Perfect to Chaos. Perfect to Chaos displays many of Perfect Chaos's powers, including the hydrokinesis and the ability to fire energy projectiles. Her only appearance was in Sonic Universe 7 and 8, which is when they did the 30 years later storyline. I thought that's fun. To Chaos is something you would absolutely see in a fanfic. It's absolutely fanficky of like, what if we took Chaos and Tikal and we mixed them together and we get to Chaos? That's all it is, and I love it to death. It's such a fucking fan idea, but I love it. I love it so much. So there's Perfect Chaos. I have to mention that. Then we have Ultimate Gemroll. Of course, from Sonic Advance 3, Gemroll was the final boss when he got all 7 Chaos Emeralds. So in this form, Gemroll turns into a disc-shaped version of himself with 4 extendable arms with claw-like hands that can fire different kinds of energy beams and missiles. So I did not know what he was called until doing the research for the video. So yeah, he's called Ultimate Gemroll. Huh, that's a nice name. I like that it's just not like, Gemroll Mark III or whatever the hell. It's like Ultimate Gemroll. I would have liked, more alliteration. I mean, Perfect Chaos isn't alliteration, but the name works better. Perfect Chaos, that's just a great name. Ultimate Gemroll, that's not a bad name either, but I would have liked, something, alliterative. But yeah, Gemroll. Of course, Gemroll, after getting the beat, he's reprogrammed by Tails, and he goes and lives with Cream and Vanilla, and we're all happy fun time. So Gemroll was a villain, though, at this point, and then he at the end. So he does count as a villain for this part, though. Now, we exit the video games, and we enter the comics. It's time for the world of Archie, baby. There's quite a bit. So let's start off with Super Scourge. Scourge's super form, which comes from the power of the Anarchy Barrel, which is the Moebius equivalent of the Chaos Emeralds. So Scourge's fur changes to purple, and the whites of his eyes become black and his pupils turn red. He has the same abilities as Supersonic, and he debuted in issue 195. Super Scourge looks freaking awesome and badass. Really enhancing Scourge's new look, because by this point is when we were really delving into Scourge as a character, where he had gotten the green fur and all that type of stuff. Fiona had cheated on Sonic by this point, and we were actually going into Moebius, right? We had dealt with, touched upon Moebius before, but now like this arc that we were doing was like really going into it, and with it, why not get Super Scourge? It was great. The battle between him and Sonic is really fun, and how Sonic beats Super Scourge is real fun. I like it. Him being purple was sweet too. I think the design is just cool too. Super Scourge. Then we have Overclocked Nicole. This is the transformation of Nicole the HoloLynx, which she achieved by being hooked up to a red star ring. Now, red star rings, of course, you know what they are in the game-wise. In Archie, they are like a physical object you can hold, and they're very similar to the rings, the power rings that we've mentioned previously. They're just like an enhanced version, and because of that, when you... because the power rings have energy to them, right? Which is how you get stuff like ultrasonic and all that. Red star rings have more chaos energy in them, so it's better to use like a red star ring than a couple of power rings. So Nicole's fur changes pink. Her hair becomes white with hints of pink, and her eyes turn red. Her avatar's attire also changes, becoming entirely pink and white. Additionally, her hair and fur stands up slightly on the end, while the tips of her ears become larger and spikier. She gains red star ring shaped buttons on her hands and gloves, with another taking place with the jewel on her necklace. Her first appearance was in Sonic Universe number 74. So I wasn't gonna include this, but Aaliyah Baker, who created her, did say that this is a super form. She said that this is the equivalent of a super form for Nicole. So there we go. Overclocked Nicole. It's a nice name because, you know, she's a computer, so she overclocks. Now when I just think of the word overclocked, though, I think of the Sonic Forces overclocked mod, which is awesome. That's all I think about. But there we go. Nicole having a transformation, and she's the only good guy. She's the only good guy in Archie to get a super form. Of course, not counting Tails and Knuckles and all that stuff, right? But she's the only Archie character who gets a super form. Nicole got a super form, and not Sally. We live in an unjust world. We really, really do. I can't tell you a bunch about Overclock Nicole because this is the point in Archie where I was really dipping out. After, like, reboot Archie, I'm not a huge fan of. I'm gonna be honest with you. My Archie is, like, Ian Flynn from, like, pre-Super Genesis Wave to the Super Genesis Wave. After that, I'm kind of done. I don't really like Archie, what they did when they rebooted it. There's some good stories in there, definitely, absolutely. There's good stories in there and good concepts and ideas in the reboot. But overall, I'm just not a huge fan of the reboot. So I got to this point of Overclock Nicole, but it was in a story I wasn't the biggest fan of. So yeah. Master Mogul. Oh, jeez. So this is the super form of Mammoth Mogul, who, if you don't know who Mammoth Mogul is, he's like an immortal in Archie. That's summoning it up freaking like to the basic distilled form. He's an immortal. You can think of him of kind of like a Vandal Savage type, is what you can kind of think of Mammoth Mogul. So Mammoth Mogul's attire changes. Instead of his appearance, he just changes his outfit, which is his outfit goes from being his normal suit to armor worn by ancient warriors. In this state, which he achieved with the power of 12 Chaos Emeralds, Mogul achieves godlike power. He later became an even more powerful incarnation of Master Mogul after seizing total control of the Chaos Force for himself. This form debuted in issue 56, where Hyper Knuckles and Supersonic fought him. Yeah. 12 Chaos Emeralds. You're probably wondering how the hell that happened. In Archie, there was for a long time just a whole bunch of Chaos Emeralds. There was like willy-nilly a whole bunch of Chaos Emeralds. It wasn't 7. There was a crap ton of Chaos Emeralds, and then they did a storyline where eventually all the Chaos Emeralds became 7. But for a while, there was a bunch of Chaos Emeralds, and Mammoth Mogul used 12 of them to become Master Mogul. I believe he is after this, when he is beaten, this is when he gets trapped inside the Master Emerald. So, not good for him. Then we have Adam. Adam is Dr. Robotnik's creation, seen as his son. So you can think of him as a proto to Sage, if you will. Except the fact is that Adam went against his creator. So Adam got the super form by using nanites to take over the body of Tommy Turtle, and then went super using the power of the Chaos Emeralds. So in this form, his body turned from silver to gold. You know, it was silver because he had, used his nanites to cover Tommy's body, and then it went gold when he had the power of the Chaos Emeralds. And he sprouted a pair of mechanical wings. The only new ability Adam showed in this form was increased power and the invulnerability usually associated with forms. So there we go. That is Super Adam. Adam's super form. The only appearance was issue 169, and that's because of what happens to Adam and Tommy in this issue, which I will not say. But Adam, the whole Adam storyline, I liked it. I like the idea of Adam, and it was a good storyline. And seeing the super form Adam looked cool. So then we have Ugly Naugus. This is the form for Ixis Naugus. Ixis Naugus is another villain in the Archie comics. I'm not gonna go into him, man. Let's just do this. His form is Ugly Naugus. That's an insult. I'm super powerful. Yeah, you're still ugly though. Ugly Naugus was created when Naugus absorbed an untold power an untold number of power rings. He possessed all of his usual elemental powers, but they were just greatly advanced. This is from issue 65. Ugly Nagas, baby. Ixis Nagas, he's a thing. I don't want to go into it. But there we go. That is all the rest of the super forms. I've probably forgotten one or two. If I did, let me know in the comments. But that's it. That's the end of this trilogy of videos. All the super forms are done and dusted. You now know them all. You now know every super form. So, with that being said, and with this being the end, let me know what your guys' favorite super form is. For what the character is, what their super form is, obviously. If they have more than one, then obviously specify which one you mean, and why you like that super form. For me, favorite super form, it's always going to be Hypersonic. It will always be Hypersonic, and I want him back. I want him back so bad. But yeah, there we go. So let me know in the comments down below what your favorite is, and why it is. That'd be fun. So, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.